we went ahead and did a client survey across all of our engagements globally as SkillNet. The customers that we work with are customers that focus on retail. They have retail operations, and the impact that they have due to the crisis is very much dependent on those dimensions that I mentioned before, whether they are classed as essential retailers or not, and how big their online operation is. At high level, those are the two key factors, but also in which industry they are in. And you can see here that if we just look at the market capitalization, what is the bet that the market makes about the negative impact to the value of the public companies by industry, that it is bad for everybody. It's a negative event for everybody. But certainly those customers that are in apparel and fashion, those that are in luxury, are much heavier hit than those that are in essential retailer. And also, again, impacted negatively are those customers in telecom, which also make part of the portfolio of SkillNet customers that we got results from. Before going into the results, clearly, what we have seen, and it will be amiss not to mention, is that many of our customers, their response to the crisis has been inspiring. They have used the knowledge that they have, their capabilities to help, sometimes on very short notice, whether was helping on PPE, whether it was helping on logistics. It's really been quite impressive to see how many of these brands have been very nimble in reacting to help their local communities and the markets in which they work. And that certainly, while it's not specifically associated with point of sale, is something that to all of us is very, very inspiring and worth noticing. Specifically then to our findings, we realized that for most of them, there was a rise in e-commerce, but certainly nowhere near enough to the impact of having the stores closed. Most of our customers are having between 80% and 100% of their stores closed. Some of them are looking at stores becoming fulfillment centers, and talk about one specific case study of how we have turned the operation of one chain into fulfillment centers for their stores later in this webinar. We have also seen furloughs and cuts across the board. For those of our customers that are global, there is a whole range of complexity around the disparity of lockdown rules globally, as the lockdown has started to lift in the APAC region, and stores are starting to open in China. Clearly, that's still not possible in many parts of the West. We're seeing this week a start of movements for opening in Eastern Europe. So that complexity is impacting the global brands. More CapEx is delayed almost in all cases, and the timeline to relook at strategic projects and the CapEx planning in June, July. BOPIS is gone to the front of priorities, and certainly curbside pickup is something that is being, particularly in the U.S. market, in everybody's mind. There's certainly still a lot of scrambling for responses, and clearly the impact of social distancing is continuing. So these things are mostly common across our customers. And then I think from a planning perspective, in terms of the response, the trends that we're seeing the most are an acceleration of digital transformation, primarily driven by the need of working from home, the increase in online orders, and trying to bet on that moving forward. Pressure to do more with less IT, which is how usually crises it's a usual response to crises. The need for experimentation, certainly, again, we'll touch on that, but we are in, it's a horrible cliche, but it is the case that we are in unprecedented times, so there is a need for experimenting before scaling initiatives, and that includes new customer journeys. There's also an expectation that the supply chain is going to be glitchy, that there's going to be issues, but there is not necessarily an understanding of where those issues are at the moment. So there is a sense of dread of impacts as lockdown continues, but there is no necessarily clear pain points identified at the moment. Issues with online to store journeys, and again we'll touch back again on those that are driving e-commerce queues, which are common across some of our customers and are common as well in the overall industry, where it's not a question of performance on the e-commerce website that is performing perfectly well on time, but it is a limitation on the actual bandwidth of order that the retailer can take on the logistics aspect of their operation rather than the technical aspect. And then a lot of interest in self-checkout, self-payment lane options is the other common theme across our customers.